Fans of the Horus Heresy and Warhammer 40,000, thank you very much for joining me for the first video talking about the construction of the Legion Fellblade tank by Forge World. So, since I did my unboxing or unbagging video of this kit that I picked up at the Warhammer 40,000 Open Weekend 2017, I've had a lot of comments from you guys and girls who would like to know, or would like me to do a series on constructing this vehicle. And, well, it was always my intention with buying this kit, but here we are going to get into the first part of that. So there'll be a series of videos about this. I'll be looking at all sorts of things to do with the construction, and my aim is to try share my experience from having built this and just identify the call outs and the tricks and the techniques that you can use to make the assembly experience that bit easier. And let's be honest, this is a big kit and it's also a resin plastic hybrid, which makes it a more challenging build as well. So this is the second tank I built on this chassis. The first was a Legion Glaive that I bought several years ago. So I'm coming back to this quite a few years on from doing my original one. However, as I've been taking the parts off, doing the prep, doing the cleanup, some of it's been coming back to me, but we're going to go through it again. So that's the general plan. We'll be going all the way from this state here, which is parts prepped and cleaned, all the way through to the final assembled model. So I hope you're going to enjoy the series and find it useful as well. As I said, here we have all the parts cleaned up in this rather busy camera shot, and there's just about all the components here, some of them bagged up, got big bits, got the hull, got the turret, got the tracks, got the details, and got the two track units or side units. But to start with, we're not going to talk anything really about the resin parts. No, we're going to start by talking about the plastic element. Now, in this kit, you get 3 sprues from the Fellblade kit, the Games Workshop plastic kit. And you get this, which is kind of the hull, the underhull, and some wheels. And you get 2 of these. You get a left and a right version of this, which is the inner and the outer sections of a track unit and the actual tracks themselves. Now, as you can probably see, there's parts that have been taken off here, and I have removed all the parts we need. So let's bring those into shot and we'll talk about them. And here we have the plastic components required to build the Fellblade tank. So let me take you through what they are, because in the instructions it doesn't specifically identify the parts that well. And let me just identify this to you. So these are the instructions for the Fellblade, classic old school style, and it shows you this kind of assembled box section of the hull, and then you kind of get to see it from a couple of different orientations or attitudes. And then it talks a little bit more here about the second set of parts you need. So I guess, well, it's not, I'm sure lots of people you can figure it out, but I thought I'd talk about it to save you the faff of doing it. So the first 2 pieces are these, which is the lower hull. And this shows us one thing which we have to be careful and mindful of with assembling this hull. To limit the maximum component size, and I guess this is to prevent warping, Games Workshop has split the hull into 2 sections. You can see it connects like so. So there's those 2. And then for the left and the right, we get, if I put these on the right side, there we go, we get another 2 pieces which connect to form the inner section of the track unit, like so. We then also get 2 sets of outer road wheels as well, so it's mirrored. Now, a couple of things to consider, or a couple of important things to consider when you're building this. Now, the really significant thing, or the really important thing to remember with this plastic shell or this chassis is you're going to hang the resin components off this. So any mistakes made with the alignment of this part or these parts is going to carry through and affect you when you come to do the resin. And believe me, you're going to have there are going to be some challenges with getting a good fit on the resin parts. So it's absolutely essential to get this bit as true and as square as possible. And given how this works, and these are not the best design components really to put together in that regard. So you got to glue together the floor of a hull. So to do that, I mean, you need a flat surface. And if I just move those out of the way, because there's no clips, It's just two edges that are going to sit together. So there's no clips, no pins, no guides, no slots. It's not great. So the way to do this is to have a nice flat surface. So I've got my cutting mat on a table, and when I glue these, I'll put the glue on and I'll hold it together. I'll be using Tamiya fast-acting polystyrene cement to glue this, which is this stuff. They call it Tamiya extra thin cement. And the great thing about that is it works by capillary action. So I can put the two parts together and just gently run some glue between them, hold it, and it'll set very quickly. So the right choice of adhesive here will also help you out with sticking the parts together. You could use super glue, however polystyrene cement is the optimal choice when working on plastic components. The end attachment is much stronger. That's the easier of the two challenges to address. Then the next one, and this is more important to get right and trickier, is making sure that you get these side hull components square. Now, this is better in terms of the actual design because it has actually got a tab and groove design, which helps you locate it. However, when you line these up, the fit is not as affirmative as it could be because it has, and if we can get Mr. Camera Focus to play along here. There you go, thank you for joining the party, Camera Focus. We have this notch here between the two parts, and you can see you don't actually get a square join there. So you can't use this to make sure that you get a nice square attachment, which isn't the best design period on a plastic kit. There's no reason to have this notch in it, and makes it particularly tricky when we're dealing with a resin build like this, or a part resin build. So what you need is you need something which you can use to square these off. And the way to do this is to use this nice large flat area on the other side to the tabs. And when you glue it, to put something across these, some sort of square item, so it might be a piece of timber that is cut nice and true, that you could basically put your glue on or hold it against it and then run the glue into the tabs. It's just a really quick thing to demonstrate what I mean. This is a case for one of my micro chisels. It's a nice square box. And just an example, you could take the edge of this and hold it against the sides to get it true like that. And that's really important, that, because anything off the square on these is going to cause you problems when you do the resin tracks around it. It's a resin and plastic component build, so yeah, it is worth taking your time to do that. And the reason I point this bit out here around you needing to use this surface is the relief is not consistent across the part. You can see here you've got this tab, but then you've got this piece here which is raised up higher, and likewise this bit here. So you can't simply put your glue on it, bob it on a flat surface and hold it and hope it's going to work out right, because it isn't. You're going to end up with something that's irregular and out of line. So important point there when you're gluing these side bits together, make sure you get them nice and square at this join here. And once you've done that, then you're going to move to attach this bit like so to get that squared up as well. Now this actually seems to track in reasonably well, just like so, but probably a way to do it would be to put your glue on, then rest it with both sides on a table. And again, using this cement, I could put both sides on, then simply just run some glue along the seam here to attach it. The other thing that's worth doing before you actually glue that on is to bring in the upper hull, which is this bit, and test fit the whole assembly together, because these are going to track into there like that. And I'll talk about this in a separate video, getting the fit right on these components here. So that's another thing to do as well. Make sure that when you're gluing these side bits onto the lower hull, do some test fitting with this upper hull as well. So that's those. Right, then the next set of plastic parts, the outer road wheels. And you have to do a bit of modification work on these. So when you take them off the sprue, they look like this. So each bogey's got like 4 wheels on it, a set of plastic pegs that are used for attaching it to other plastic parts. Now, you have to remove those, and it kind of shows you this in the instructions. What you have to do is you have to cut all of these little pegs off here, and I've done that already on the other set to show you what you're working towards. And this is what you want to end up with here. You can see that on each set of wheels I've cut away the pegs. And that then means you've got this smooth face here. And the reason you do that comes to this resin component here, so the side track units. And now just let me put it all together for you so you can visualize how the end thing works. So if I get the right side, managed to get the right side first time. What's going to happen is these plastic lugs are going to fit into this groove in the resin part here, which we're just going to do as a bit of a push fit. And this is actually a surprisingly good fit. There you go, after a little bit of wrestling I've got there, I think it's about right. There you go. Now, then what these outer road wheels are going to do is they're going to drop into this groove here, which you can see running on the outside of the track piece next to the armour skirt. And that's going to drop in there like that. And then like that. And you can see that you have the matched pairs of road wheels. I'm going to come back and do a separate video talking about actually fitting these and sticking them together. At this point, I just wanted to demonstrate the principle of what's going on so you can better understand what the instructions are saying and visualize it in a bit more of a real way than the sometimes slightly vague instructions depict. Good. So that's everything to say about the first stages of putting together the Fellblade tank. It's just those tips around assembling the plastic hull and then just understanding how these road wheels work and the modifications you need to do to that part to prepare it for assembly. So there you go, that's the first part on assembling the Fellblade tank. This would equally apply to the falchion and the glaive. At this stage, the assembly principles are all the same. So I hope you found that an interesting demonstration, and I guess the takeaway lesson from this is not to neglect doing this bit of construction well. The quality of your work on these plastic components is going to carry through to the entire build, and once you get onto the tracks and the hull assembly, those are quite hard, and any errors with alignment at this stage are going to hurt you then and possibly compromise the final look of a model, particularly with the tracks. So I hope you found that an interesting and useful demonstration. Share your thoughts and observations in the comments as always. Has this been a useful demo? Have you built any of these 3 Fellblade chassis tanks and got any of your own personal observations you'd like to share? Very interested here as always. But other than that, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.